1911, striker fired or revolver. Which is the fastest bear gun? Well, today we're going to find out. Hi everybody, welcome back to the LocaCarnivore, the hunting, guns, and adventure channel for smart people. And you're smart because you're watching us, instead of some of that stuff on YouTube which you can feel your IQ drop by 30 points as soon as you turn it on. Hey, remember, you're going to want to stay for the entire length of this video. I've got great stuff for you all the way, start to finish. Today's video is all about fast bear guns. And I'll clue you in on how I got the idea for this video. Obviously, those of you who are our subscribers and stay up with our channel, you know we live in grizzly bear country. And so this is a very big topic for us. It's a very important subject. And if you see all the videos out there on YouTube, if you see all the videos out there and read all the articles and everything, the big concern that everybody has is with the power of their bear guns, especially we're talking bear handguns here. Obviously, there's a big difference between the long gun power and the power of a handgun. And everybody's all hung up on the power of the cartridge. You know, so is it 10 millimeter? Is it 44 mag, 41 mag? You know, 460 Roland, all these other boutique things, 50 AE, you know, a BFR and 4570, you name it, whatever. So the big hang up is this power. Everybody's really fixated on that. But the reality is that while power is important, and trust me, in my opinion, there's no such thing as too much power when you're dealing with an angry bear who wants to chew on you. However, the other side of the coin is that power is absolutely useless if you can't hit with it. And on top of that, hit fast, because bear attacks are incredibly fast. They are violent beyond all imaginings. This is an animal which can easily kill a full-size grown elk or an adult moose without a lot of effort. And these bears are fast. Cue up any video you want to see of bears fighting each other in the wild, and you'll see just how quick the whole situation happens. Just to give you a quick little bit of math here, a bear traveling full speed can cover 50 yards in 1.5 seconds. That's 1.5 seconds between 50 yards and where you're standing. So that's going to happen really fast. This is as fast as like gunfights happen. You know, you go over to active self-protection there, and John Korea is always big about the 1.5 second draw to first shot thing. Well, that is going to apply as well to a bear fight as well as a gunfight. Don't forget to like this video with a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll get all of our videos. So what do I mean about when I talk about fast bear guns? Well, simply what I wanted to find out was which gun allows you to put the most rounds on target accurately in the least amount of time. And that's the really big question here. So I thought about this whole situation for quite a while, basically probably the last 6 months or so, trying to figure out, well, how would we determine what's the fastest bear gun? I mean, you know, what do? Stand there with a shot timer, have somebody go beep, you draw the gun and you fire, and then, you know, when you're finished firing, you know. But how do you compare, since we're dealing with different guns? And the big question is always, you know, is a striker fired better? Is a 1911 better? Is a revolver better? Everybody in any particular camp has their own opinions, and there are pluses and minuses to each platform. And nobody's really wrong on this, because it really comes down to which gun you can shoot the best. However, I wanted to find out, since I carry both semi-automatics and revolvers for bear defense, or have at various periods of time, and just depending on the situation where I'm going and whatnot, I still tend to swap between guns. And I also have a striker gun, and I have 1911s and 10 millimeter, and I have revolvers, big bore revolvers. So I wanted to find out, well, if I had to use one, which would be the fastest to get the most accurate shots on target? Hey, the LocaCarnivore project has only one source of funding at the moment, and that's you, our viewers. Please go down in the description, find a link to our Patreon, go over, show us a little love. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you. So after I thought about this for quite a while, I came up with what I think is a pretty good methodology. First of all, what we want to measure is shots on target as fast as possible, accurate shots on target as fast as possible. So we're going to have to, in order to have pretty decent science here, we need to eliminate all the possible variables so that we're just measuring what we want to measure. So what I decided to do was not bother with drawing the gun or anything like that. And I also wanted to standardize the ammunition as much as possible and standardize on specific guns. So what I came up with is the following scenario, the following methodology. I chose a representative gun from each camp. I made sure they were in what we consider, up here at least, bear capable calibers. So for the automatics, that meant 10 millimeter. And for the revolver, I went with a 44 Magnum, although I love my 41 Magnum, and a lot of people carry 357s. To be blunt, most people carry 44s. Hey, if you'd like to see more content, we've got some great stuff for you over at our LocaCarnivore website. Links down in the description there. Also, while you're there, please go over to our LocaCarnivore store. Support us that way. We'd appreciate it. All right, let's talk about the guns that were used for this specific investigation. For the 1911 platform, I chose this is the one I've got. It's a Ronin by Springfield Armory. It's in 10 millimeter, obviously. And it's proven to be a pretty good gun. We've got several videos on our original assessments with this gun, playing around with it, a couple of them. So the links are down in the description. You can go check out the reviews on this gun if you're so inclined. Now for the striker fired gun, I went with a GLOCK Model 20, a G20. This happens to be a Gen 4. Yeah, I know the Gen 5's all the rage and everything, but this is the one I have, and to be honest with you, I bought this like mere weeks before the Gen 5 dropped. However, I'm always a little dubious about new models from anybody, and I kind of wanted to see how people were going to get along with the Gen 5 before I threw my money at it, because it was more expensive. And I got a pretty ripping deal on this, by the way, so I really couldn't pass it up. And the Gen 4 is a proven platform. You look at, Chooks Outdoors or Long Winding Road, any of those people, especially in Alaska, and there's a lot of people. Frankly, this is also probably the most popular striker fired platform out there, is the GLOCK G20. Now when it comes to revolvers, I've got what I consider a very good candidate here. It's a Smith & Wesson Model 629 in 44 Magnum. It's a 4-inch barrel. A lot of people, they always like to maybe carry longer barrels or whatever, but the 4-inch I think is the best compromise in the field. It's a gun that's light enough to a degree to where you can cart it around all day, especially if you have a good holster system to carry it with. And the 4-inch is a heavy enough gun, however, to give you what I consider a reasonable amount of recoil control, as opposed to going with like the 329 PD, which I refuse to shoot ever with a Magnum load in it. Yeah, you guys are going to whine at me that I'm a sissy and all that, but suffice it to say, I found this to be the best compromise overall. Your mileage may vary. Hey, what do you think about what we're saying here today? Go down in the comments, let us know. It's feedback from people like you that help us make better videos. Let's walk you through the actual methodology I came up with to compare these guns, because they're all different platforms, they all handle differently, they all shoot differently, they have different trigger systems, etc., etc. So I wanted to see, like I said, which is the fastest and most accurate at the same time. So what I did was I wanted to make sure that there was as much uniformity with ammunition as possible. The GLOCK is not rated for lead bullets, so I did not use any hard-cast lead bear loads, and I'm going to get some pushback on that as well, I'm sure. However, but the 1911 will handle the lead loads, so I didn't want to mix ammo types or whatever. I wanted that as uniform as possible. So I settled on using the SIG 180 grain full metal jacket loads. They're pretty hot. They're maybe not the hottest 10 millimeter out there, but in my opinion, for off-the-shelf, readily available instead of the boutique brands like Underwood, etc., etc. But I wanted to get a good compromise, a good solid load and uniform across there. For the 44 Magnum, I selected basically because it's what I had on hand. I used some Fiocchi 240 grain. I didn't go with the super heavy loads. I think they're, especially in the Smith & Wesson end frame, like the 300 grains and all that, they are off the chart abusive on the gun. I'd like to have that gun continue to work for me for years and years instead of having to send it back to get a pile of parts put back together by Smith & Wesson and put back in shape. So I decided to go with that load. Also, I think it's representative of stuff that, again, you can readily find on the shelf. And this Fiocchi runs a little bit hotter. It's rated a little bit higher than the average 240 grain, but it's not off the chart. And it is a base jacketed soft point bullet. Yeah, I probably should have used a hard cast, but reality is we're not worried about terminal performance on a piece of paper. When we're shooting at these targets, what we're concerned about is, does it work? So the bullet weight and the bullet type are sufficient for our demonstration. Hey, make sure you share this video with everybody. We'd really appreciate it. So let's go down to the range at the sprawling LocaCarnivore headquarters complex and see how these guns did. Here's the results. 44 mag at 15 yards. As you can see, I only got 2 hits. Oh, there's one way down there. I don't know how that got down there, but there it is. Oh, here's 2 more. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, this is the Glock 20, 10 millimeter. And we've got one down there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's the Ronin, 10 millimeter, 1911. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that was pretty interesting actually, and I enjoyed doing the shooting. It was great to get behind each of those guns. Despite the fact that you're basically hanging onto a 2x4 with the Glock 20, it's notorious for having a really, basically garbage grip texture or contour compared to the Smith & Wesson or the SIG X10 or a few of the other guns that are out on the market. Despite that, I found I can shoot this gun very accurately. These large Glocks just somehow, in my hand at least, your mileage may vary, point really well for me, and I can keep them on target during rapid fire. And when it came to the Ronin 1911, the big advantage, I also can shoot this gun pretty darn well. I found that the trigger, as everybody in the 1911 camp always points out, the triggers are marvelous. I found that the light, crisp trigger pull on this thing really helped keep this gun on target. Plus the extra weight of the gun, it's empty, it weighs what the Glock weighs fully loaded, did help and manage the recoil, despite the fact that the bore axis is a little higher than the Glock. So, and then that high visibility sight on the front was very helpful as well. Now, when it came to the 629, I'll give you I have a confession to make. I haven't been practicing with double action revolvers for a while lately, and I think it kind of showed there. I think my performance, at least on accuracy, I don't know about the time, but on accuracy, I think it would have improved a fair amount if I had had more time on this gun. It's been a while since I put in some regular trigger time behind a double action revolver. And even though I try to keep up with some dry firing, as you know, that's not going to completely fix any situation you've got until you've got the recoil involved. And speaking of recoil, that was this gun's big problem. That despite the fact that I used to use a 41 Magnum in 3-gun, which was a long time ago, and haven't done it in a long time, but despite that fact, I still found this gun really hard to control. No matter how hard I tried to lean into the gun and keep it steady and have really good body mechanics and really concentrate, it's just got a lot of recoil, even though it's a big, heavy gun. So that really was, I think, the big determining factor, as well as, I'll admit my ham-handedness on the double action trigger pull. But even despite that, as much as I concentrated on trying to shoot as fast as possible, but still accurately, it just was way too much recoil in my opinion. Okay, what were the actual results on our test as far as the numbers? Now you saw the accuracy. As far as just raw time, the winner was, amazingly, the Glock. And a lot of people poo-poo that Glock in striker guns because they've got a heavier trigger than the 1911. That's the biggest argument that 1911 fanboys use against the striker guns, is the trigger pull. But I didn't find that a big impediment, frankly, at all. And I shot both semi-automatics quite well. Bottom line, the Glock did it in 4.08 seconds. Moving over to the Ronin, the 1911, that got a time of 4.16 seconds. So 8/100ths of a second is statistically, 8/100ths of a second is statistically insignificant. It is a non-factor. So quite frankly, I have to say that both the striker fired and the 1911, in my opinion, in my hands, were equally fast. I didn't have any problems shooting them quickly. So what about the Smith & Wesson? Well, the Smith & Wesson, I shot that. I got 6 rounds out in 5.15 seconds. So it's a full second slower than the slowest of the semi-automatics, which was the Ronin. And that's actually a fair amount of time when a bear is coming at you. Remember, 1.5 seconds to get across 50 yards. And the revolver was just slower. Why was it slower? Because of the recovery time between each shot. No matter how hard I tried to keep the thing on target, getting the gun back on target after the muzzle flip was just more difficult than with either of the semi-automatics. So yeah, it might speed up if I practice more, but I don't think it would get to the point where it's the equal, and I'm not Jerry Michalek, and I never will be, but I don't think it will be the equal of the semi-automatics. So bottom line on this was, yeah, the 44's got the power. It's definitely more powerful, more substantially more powerful than the 10 millimeter. But as you saw, the accuracy degraded substantially, and it's not as fast to get the same number of rounds on target. So I have to give this one to the semi-automatics. And I'll let you fanboys sort out whether the striker fired in the 1911 is the better way to go. Frankly, what it comes down to is whatever you shoot the best. Well, I hope you found this video very interesting. I thought it was really enlightening. I learned a few things on this shoot that I really hadn't expected. I expected that revolver to do a lot better than it did. And basically, in my opinion, for the most part, I'm going to carry that 10 millimeter either in the 1911 or the striker fired platform because it gives me a high round count. I've got plenty of ammunition on board. I can hit with the thing. That's the big thing. I can hit with either one of these guns. I'm quite confident that at a reasonable range, I will put a reasonable number of rounds on target in a tight enough group to where it will make a difference. Well, thank you for spending your valuable time with us here at the LocaCarnivore today. We really appreciate it. And as always, stay aware, stay safe, please be kind to people, and don't do anything your mother told you not to do.